Hey everyone, so we're going to get started now. So if you weren't here for the first couple announcements, I'm Lex. I'm from the OCAD Student Union. I'm an event planner at the SU, and today we also have Adam with us. Adam is our outreach coordinator at the Student Union, and we also have Khadija with us today, who's going to be facilitating her awesome hand-drawn to digital art workshop. So just before we start the workshop, I'm going to go over some quick info about the SU and how the workshop will run today. So if you didn't know, the OCAD Student Union is an independent and democratically run student organization at OCAD. If you are a current student or you're a recent graduate of OCAD, you're a member of the Student Union. And being a member means that you can access any of our free programs and services that we offer. This includes things like free legal services, student advocate, support with grocery funds, student grants, and workshops and social events like today was the workshop. For more info about how the SU has adapted programming for the closure of the school due to the pandemic, I'm going to drop all of the Student Union's contact information into the chat. And whether or not we are actually on campus, the OCAD Student Union operates in the dish with one spoon territory. We'd like to acknowledge and give thanks to the nations who have lived on and protected this territory prior to and against colonization, including the Mississaugas of New Credit, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy of Six Nations, the Anishinaabe, and the Huron-Wendat Nations. Today, as I said, we have the hand-drawn to digital art workshop that's being run by Khadija. I'll also be putting Khadija's social media and artist links in the chat as well, so you can access those things. Before we start the workshop, I just want to go over some protocol for using Microsoft Teams. So please keep your webcam and your mic turned off just to minimize interruptions during the workshop. And if you have a question, feel free at any time to type your question into the chat, and Adam will let Khadija know that a question has come up, and she'll just answer them throughout the workshop. If you need captions turned on for this workshop, you can look for the button in the call menu that has 3 dots, and click this button and select Turn on Live Captions. I'll be putting this information into the chat as well. And then lastly, once Khadija's workshop starts, feel free to full screen the call. So it's just like as large as possible on your screen. We also want to ask that all participants are mindful of the Student Union's safer space policy. This just means that in our physical space or in our virtual space, it's still important to be respectful of each other, to listen in an open way, and not to speak for others. We are also recording this workshop today to later post it to our social media, both on Instagram and Facebook, but we're not recording the chat just to maintain everybody's privacy. So then the very last thing is that by attending this workshop, you're actually being entered into a raffle to win either a gift card prize or an art supplies prize pack. So I'd like to thank Above Ground Art Supplies, which is the art store that's right next to OCAD's campus. They're sponsoring our orientation this year and donating prize packs to us. So after this workshop, keep an eye on your student email, as you might receive a message that you've won one of our prizes. So now I'm going to drop all that information into the chat about our contact info and how to turn on captions. And I will let Khadija take over now.
Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everybody. Thank you to Student Union for welcoming me. My name is Khadija Aziz. My pronouns are she and her. And as Lex mentioned, that I graduated from OCAD University in June 2020 from the Material Art and Design program, majoring in textiles. Yeah, I just can't see myself. Oh, here. Cool. Okay. Okay, so welcome to this workshop called Hand Drawn to Digital Art, where I'll introduce you to basic Photoshop techniques to basically pixelate your hand drawings to turn them into digital art. And also welcome to OCAD University. I also wanted to kind of throw in a little disclaimer that when it comes to Photoshop, there are tons of different ways to use the same tool for various techniques, and then there's also tons of technique, like you can do the same technique using 10 different tools, but you can also use each tool in 10 different ways. So if you have any questions, just ask in the conversation and somebody from the student union will let me know. And if you wanted to dive deeper, or if you wanted to figure out another approach to the same concepts, then you can watch videos on LinkedIn Learning. As an OCAD student, you have access to LinkedIn Learning. They have a lot of amazing tutorials on Adobe softwares and also like coding and like how to build your business and how to market your products. So as an OCAD student, you have access to that, and I recommend that you take advantage of it. So today I'll show you what we're going to make. I can't see myself, by the way, so let me know if the camera's fine. Okay, so today we're basically going to be making something that looks like this. We're going to be making an artwork from using like simple motifs. So I made a whole series of patterns using the simple drawing on graph paper. And then I'm basically going to show you how to like transfer it to Photoshop and then manipulate it and play with different colorways so that you can create a whole bunch of patterns. And then we'll talk about how to apply this set of skills to like kind of like creating mock-ups of books or mock-ups of t-shirts. So I think I'm going to start screen sharing now. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay, cool. Okay, so welcome to my Photoshop. This is the type of, this is what, oh. Are you folks able to see my screen to the Photoshop?
I can see it, Khadija. I think you're good.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Closer by accident. So this is a little mock-up of what I made. And so all of these are made using one motif, which I will show you. So my goal is to kind of show you how you can use very basic tools and techniques to create beautiful artwork. So I drew this yesterday on graph paper, and from this motif, I ended up making this artwork that I put onto this frame, kind of like as a mock-up, and using the same drawing, I made this. So today I'll show you how to play with that. Oh, and I also did one. This is another example, and this is just playing with different colorways, and which I'll also show you. So I'm just gonna go ahead and close. So if you wanted to take some time to draw on a paper, graph paper, go ahead. It will be beneficial for you to follow along, but I understand if you want to kind of just sit back and just watch and take notes. This video will be available afterwards, so you can do both. So as an absolute to start with, I already have my drawing, my new hand drawing in a folder, and I have a color, an image that I like the colors of. So I'm going to go to Photoshop. I'm going to go to File on top left. I'm going to go to Open, and I'm going to bring in my new drawing. So this is something I'm going to be working with this image today. So, and then I'm going to on the left side, there are a bunch of tools from Photoshop, and this one is just the move tool. I can click. So I can move my images later. And I'm going to go on the 5th item, and that's a crop tool. With this, I can crop my image because this is the only thing I'm going to be focusing on today. Yeah, so this is the fun part. So my layer over here on the right side, you can see I'm clicking on this layer. It's locked. Perfect. On the top, I'm going to go to Image, Mode, and RGB. I'm just going to confirm that my image is check marked on RGB. RGB stands for red, green, blue. They are the colors that make up the digital pixels on our screens. CMYK is another relevant color for you. If you're ever going to print your digital art, you're going to want to make it into CMYK color so that the printer can accurately represent the colors that are on the screen. So I've checked that my image is in RGB mode, and then I'm going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery. You will see a bunch of these. Bars. I'm going to click Sketch. Then I'm going to click Stamp. And if I zoom out, I've seen that my image is already turned into like 2-color pixels. So playing with the light and dark balance on the right will kind of here you can see. So it will make my lines thicker or thinner, and then the smoothness will make it rough or just kind of absolutely disappear. So once I'm happy with how I like my motif, I want to make
it.
Yeah?
Sorry to interrupt. We have a question from Zoraida.
Okay, cool. I'm just going to finish this part and then go on to the question. Is that okay? Okay, thank you so much. So after I've done this, I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to go to the question now. Ooh, okay. You cannot see my menu?
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, the top menu. I cannot see it. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Maybe I'll have to screen share the entire screen. So I'll do that.
I think you have to screen share the entire screen. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up. Okay. Could you folks see it now?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Do you want me to do it again?
So if you wouldn't mind, yes.
Okay, sure. So I'm just going to, on my Mac, I'm going to press on my keyboard Command Z to undo everything. So this is my original drawing. On the top, I'm going to go to Image, Mode, and then RGB. So again, these are the digital pixels. So if I'm creating art for the digital screen, so like if I'm creating a poster that's going to go up on Instagram or Facebook, I'm going to want it to be on RGB mode. If I wanted to print the posters, I will convert the mode to CMYK, because that's CMYK stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and that's what the inks on our printers are made up of. So I'm just going to confirm this RGB mode. I'm going to go to Filter, Filter Gallery, and then on the bottom left, I'm just going to zoom out so I can see everything, and then you'll have a bunch of these tabs. Click on Sketch and Stamp. This is what happens if you click on other modes, by the way, and there's a lot of stuff you can do on Photoshop, so I'm sure you'll learn it in your time at OCAD. So over here on the top right, I'm just going to play with like the balance of the lines and the smoothness of them, and when I'm happy, I'm going to click OK, and then I have this here. So this is going to be something I'll call the motif. So when I zoom in, I'm going to realize that I don't necessarily, When I zoom in, I realize that, okay, I made a mistake. I don't want this line to be here. I'm going to grab my eraser tool on the left side, which is, it looks like this. And I'm going to hold it, and make sure that I'm using the first eraser tool on the list of 3, and then on the top I can see the size. There's a number. If I click it, it will show me the sizes of the erasers and also the hardness. So I'll show you what 17 size hardest eraser looks like. If I zoom in, this is the hardness level. So it's really cutting through the pixels. And if I make it really soft, which is lower hardness percentage, and if I erase this, it's a little like a brush, if you see that. So I'm going to make it absolutely hard, and I'm going to keep it the same size and just erase this line. And I'm going to keep the rest of the lines looking as they are because I like the hand-drawn quality, and that's what I want to be visible in my work. So I'm not going to erase too much of other hand details like this little nook here. And I did a pretty good job in converting this image into pixels, but let's say I didn't connect the dot here. I didn't connect these 2 lines. Now what's going to happen is if I want to color this shape here, the entire the paint tool will fill in everything else too. So I'm going to grab my paintbrush tool on the left, and then if I want to have and then I'm just going to fill it in. And again, I can use the same level of hardness. I'm going to make it size 17 again and just fill it. Okay, so this is what my motif looks like right now. And now I want to color it in. So for that, I want a color palette. A color palette will help me decide what colors go well together. So on the top, I'm going to open up a new image that I'm going to use an image of my own artwork, but you can find an image on Google, any photography that you like, or just colors that you like. So File, Open, and I have an image here. I'm going to be using one of my paintings. So now so there are a lot of different ways to kind of extract a color palette. I'm going to show you the easiest way and also the fastest way. So again, I'm going to go to Filter, Pixelate, and Mosaic. And now what this does is this literally divides my most basic colors in my painting into pixels. And I can play with the cell size here and have tiny pixels. So this can be good if you want to blur out images in your artwork or for the purpose of color palette. I want a little more options than the maximum color palette. So I'm going to have a smaller number of squares, or more squares, and I'm going to click OK. Now this color palette is too many colors in one palette, so I'm going to want to crop it. And how I'm going to do that is use this tool that looks like 2 L's. Hold it, and then I'm just going to bring it down to the colors that I like. I'm going to decide that, okay, I want to use these colors in my artwork. So this is my new color palette that I'm going to bring into this motif. Are we all here? Are you with me? Is it fine? Okay, gonna assume it is. So in this motif, in Photoshop, there are a lot of things you can do with layers, and because I want this layer to be, I want to save this layer as is in case I go wrong in the future. So I'm going to keep this layer locked with this lock button, and I'm going to create a new layer. On the bottom of the Photoshop, you can see that right on the left side of the trash can, there's this button, and if you hover over it, it says create new layer. I'm going to create a new layer, and then I'm going to start coloring. So I'm going to go back and forth from my color palette to my image, and I'm gonna use this eyedropper tool that looks like an eyedropper or like one of those science tools. Forgot what they're called. Click it, and I'm gonna select a random color of my choice. So I like this purple mauve. I'm gonna click it. I'm gonna bring it here. I'm just gonna click the other layer, and then I'm gonna go to the paint bucket tool. The paint bucket tool might for you look like a gradient tool, like this rectangle with black and gray. So if you hold it, you can get all these other options. So I want you to click it and go to the second tool, and then just here. Oh, sorry. So this is a good point. So I'm going to, on the top, I'm going to click anti-alias and click contagious. And we're going to unclick this later. But for now, just click anti-alias and contagious in all layers. And make sure that you're coloring on this new layer. And now when I color this shape, only this shape is colored. I'm going to go back. I'm going to select a new color. I'm going to color this shape. So having a color palette means that I don't need to worry about what colors go well together. I'm literally using a painting that I made, so that might be biased because I've decided at some point that these colors go well together, but you can also find kind of a mood board online. Some professors might ask you to cite the mood board that you got your colors from. So this is my colored motif. Now if I click the eye over here on the background layer, it goes away. And now my motif looks exactly like, my motif looks like this without the border lines. And if I zoom in, I see this gray and white grid, and that just means that there's no background. So if I save this as a JPEG, it will have a white background. And also if I zoom in like a lot on my own colors, you'll see this this grid, and that's what pixels are. That's what makes up our image. So this single shape is a motif. And then now I'm going to show you how to kind of manipulate it into different positions. So now I want to create a third document. So I'm going to go to Photoshop, File, New. I'm going to go to Recent, Custom. My Photoshop might look different than your Photoshop because if you haven't opened your Photoshop, if you're going to open your Photoshop for the first time, it will look different for you because my Photoshop is just set on my default. So I'm going to go Custom, and I'm going to start with 8 inches by 10, and I'm going to make sure that my over here it says inches. I'm measuring in inches. In the future, you can measure in pixels, centimeters, whatever works for you. And I'm going to make sure that my resolution is at 300 pixels per inch. And that's the standard for high quality images. For color mode, because again, I'm going to create this for purposes of a screen, I'm going to keep it at RGB, but you can see here you can choose other color modes. And 8-bit, I'm going to keep it at 8-bit because that's a standard. And I'm going to click Create. So I have this basic white document here. I'm going to click this rectangle marquee tool on the left. This is very useful. I'm gonna, if I hold my mouse outside of my board and click it and drag it all the way across, you'll see that there's a magenta border on my image, and that just means that with my marquee tool, I have selected everything that is visible on this board. I'm going to click Command C on my keyboard, or on here, I'm going to go to Edit and then Copy. And then I'm going to go to my new document and just paste it. And there's my motif. So I want to resize this because I want to create a whole series of patterns using this same motif, but I don't want it to be this huge. So I'm going to click it with my, the move tool. It's the topmost, it's the top tool, and it has 4 arrows. I'm going to click it and resize it. So if I hold the square on the corners, on any corners, and drag it up and down, it's going to proportionately change the size. If I hold one of these squares on the sides, it's going to make, oh, never mind. Oh, it's a new Photoshop. So if I hold, if I want to change this shape, if I want to make it narrower or wider, I'm going to press Shift on my keyboard and hold any of these squares, and now I can make it narrower, wider, shorter. I can manipulate my motif that way. So here we go. I want it to be the same proportions that I created. So I'm going to Command Z, press Command Z, or Edit, Undo, Paste, or Undo. And then here's my original thing. So I'm going to just resize it to be a little bit smaller. Okay. Now I want to create a motif where I can create a mandala. I can create a basic repeat. So I'm just going to click this layer, this motif. I can either click the image by itself, or I can go here and click layer. I'm going to, on my trackpad, I'm going to double click, and it will say I'll have all these options. I'm going to click duplicate layer, and I can rename this layer if I want to. And so now I'm going to make sure that only the new layer is selected. So I'm going to just click this layer, go to Edit, Transform, and I'm going to click Flip Vertical. So let's see what happens when I flip the image vertically. Oh, so if I flip the image vertically, I have basically flipped it on the x-axis. Now I want to undo that. And I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, Flip Horizontally. And now I have flipped the image on the y-axis. And then I can move it around, or I can kind of bring it closer. So now I'm just kind of mirroring my motif like this. So if I like this, I can zoom out and kind of just select layer 1, copy by pressing Shift on my keyboard and selecting this. I'm going to double click on my trackpad, or I can click this bar on the right side and go to the bottom and click Merge Layers. And now this layer is one single layer. And now I can locate it wherever, and I can duplicate this. So again, I'm going to double click it, duplicate layer, and arrange it on my artboard. And if I like this, I'm going to, again, copy layer 1 and layer 1 copy, duplicate, and I'm just going to keep doing it. So I can copy it and paste it right below, and I'll show you how to fix this white spacing. Or if okay, so I forgot to merge these layers. So this is separate layer. Perfect. So now I'm going to click layer 1 copy, Shift, click the other layer, double click the trackpad, and scroll to the bottom and click Merge Layers. And now if I duplicate the layer, I'll only have one new layer. So I can place it right at the bottom, or I can get creative and place it a little bit. This is called brick repeat, because you know how bricks are arranged, do not arrange symmetrically, so I can do this too. However I like it. but let's say I want it to be like this. If I like the positioning of this, I just want to make sure that I have the least amount of white space between these motifs as possible. I'm going to move it up. Okay, so I'm going to merge my layers. So layer 1, press shift on my keyboard, select the other layer, double click on my trackpad, merge layers. And when I zoom in, if I want to get rid of these white spaces, I'm going to click the eyedropper tool, click the colors nearby, and then click the paintbrush tool here. And right now, Photoshop is not letting me paint because I haven't selected a layer to paint on. I want to paint on the same layer that these motifs are on so that everything stays together. I'm going to have a little larger size. And I'm going to just fill in the white spaces. And you can spend as much or as little time with this, just depending on what kind of hand quality you want. Just gonna gonna have a smaller size brush and just close this gap. Okay. So if I'm happy with this, and I'm gonna select this layer, click on my trackpad with my 2 fingers and click duplicate layer. And now I have the exact same layer copied, and I can place it somewhere like so. So now I have a pattern forming. Now I can do the same. I can repeat what I just did. So I'm going to select this layer, duplicate it, and bring it down. Now to fill in these holes, I'm just going to do the same thing. I'll just have a lot of material outside of my board. So if something like that happens to you when you're working with a lot of layers and you accidentally keep clicking the wrong layer, you can also lock your layer. So if I want to lock a certain layer, I can click it and click this lock tool. And now no matter how much I move it, it's not gonna, my actions won't impact that layer. So I'm just gonna, I think I have to do 2 more. Okay, so these are just really on the corner, so I'm just going to crop it for the sake of time. Okay, so this is my pattern. I'm going to crop it because for the sake of time, so I'm going to use the crop tool, and on the top I see something that says W times H times resolution, so this is just a dimension of how I want to crop it. These are common cropping presets. So for Instagram, if I want to crop it, I might do 1 by 1, which is a square. Or if I'm printing it on a standard poster, not a poster, if I'm printing on a standard for photo album or something, I might do 8 by 10. Instagram also accepts 8 by 10, by the way. This is, so the top 2, the 1 by 1 and 4 by 5 are the more common cropping presets that I use. So I'm going to click that, and you'll see all this other material around it. And I'm just going to drag it from the corner and bring it in. And if I preset it as my crop tool, if I preset my crop tool, it basically keeps the portions of my image. So now I have this. Now let's say I'm this far in my work and I decide that I don't like the colors. So first I'm going to select all my layers, and I'm going to click the lock to unlock it. Select all my layers and double click and scroll to the bottom and click merge layers. If I don't like the colors, I can simply go back to the bucket tool, and I'm going to unclick anti-alias and contagious. And then I'm going to select another color with the eyedropper tool, and let's say I want to add this purple. No, I have too much purple. Let's say I want to add this blue. Oh, I had the exact same blue. Sorry. If I want to add this gray, and let's say I want all of the white spaces here to be into that gray, I'm going to click this one white shape, and every white shape turns into that gray because I unclicked anti-alias and contagious. I'm going to come back here. Seems like I have all the colors here already. Perfect. So this is my pattern, and I can do the same thing with other colors that I already colored. So yeah. So this is the basic pattern, and now to apply my pattern onto images like this, I will have to create a new template, which I can do that by going to File, New. And Photoshop CC 2019 has these amazing templates that I didn't have when I was a first-year student. So I'm going to go to Photo, and I have all of these cool templates. So I'm going to go to this template, the Leaning Poster Frames Mockup. You will have to download these templates, so make sure you have enough space in your laptop. So this is what it looks like right now. And on the right side, you can see that I have so many layers. There are so many layers that make up this one image. So if I unclick this eye, I can see that the poster image is gone. So yeah, and if I click this down arrow, it all compiles into, all the layers are made up of these 3 layers. If I want to make art that is horizontal, I can unclick this eye on the vertical frame layer, and now I have a horizontal frame. So I'm going to go back to my art, click the rectangular marquee tool, drag it from the outside in so that I'm selecting all pixels of my image. Command C for copy or edit and copy. I'm going to go to my new layer, and I'm going to paste it here. And you'll see that my image was larger than this photo. So I'm going to drag it from the corners, and I want it to be approximately the same size. So if I want to rotate this, I could do it in 2 ways. I could either drag it from the corner manually. So if I click this image and I hover over on the corners, my arrow turns into 2 arrows pointing the opposite direction. So I can rotate it that way. I can also, you can see over here, on the top with this angle sign, I can also change the rotation. So right now it is at 0 degrees. If I change it 90 degrees, this is what it looks like. So I've changed that rotation, and I can also go to Edit, Transform, and Rotate, Flip, etc. So this is what it looks like right now. And I wanted to make it easier, I want it to be approximately the same size as the frame. I'm going to click Enter, and now here I have it. So now this is where I'm going to manipulate the perspective of this image, because if I fit my artwork here, it's going to it won't look realistic, right? So I'm going to go to edit. So while I'm still holding on to my image, while I'm still clicking this layer, click edit, perspective wrap, and Photoshop's going to give you instructions. So I'm going to just click on a random area, and then I have this blue grid. And with this blue grid, I'm basically telling I'm basically telling Photoshop where my image currently is right now, where the 4 corners are. And later I will use a similar grid to tell Photoshop where I want my image to be. So I can zoom in to be as precise as I can. Your professors might not be too happy with you using Adobe PhotoShop templates. So you might want to just draw up your own or photograph your own templates and do something like this. But you can also, these mock-ups can also be good if you're, for example, if you have a vision to paint a mural down a street. So you go and take a photo of the street from a different angle, and then you take a photo of your painting and you use this tool to show your funders or the organization that this is how your mural can look like in that street. So once I'm happy with my corners, my blue corners, I'm going to press enter, and this shape turns into gray. And with this, I'm telling Photoshop where I want the photo to be, where I want each corner to be. So I want this top left corner to be here. So I'm going to move it around. Okay. Okay, this looks good to me for now, so I'm going to click enter. And now I have my artwork here. If I want to fix the edges, I can go back and fix it, or I can try to make the size a little bit bigger. But if I do that, you'll see that it's not accurately enlarging my artwork on the corners here. So I'm going to Command Z to undo. And there is my artwork. But you might have noticed that in the original template, there was also a glare on the screen. So on my layers, I'm going to click this arrow. I'm going to drag my layer of my artwork down. Oh. So if I click this arrow beside horizontal frame, it will say your artwork. I'm going to drag my artwork underneath that layer. So now my artwork is nicely fitted in the frame. There's a glare that wasn't there if I didn't do that layer. And there we go. There it is. And if you go down, you can see all the layers that make up this image. So if I want to, I don't know, for some reason, if I want to change the flooring or the shadows, I can do that. There you go. So yeah, and if you go to the templates again, depending on what purpose you're using Photoshop for and what mock-up you want to create, there are a lot of different options to do that. So the book, you can create a book that looks like this. For the mural, I was saying there's a template somewhere here. Oh, and here's the t-shirt mock-ups. And there's another tool called, so if I click this photo, if I click my layer, and I go to edit and puppet wrap, I get all of these cool triangles. And if I click the triangle in certain areas, I'm basically anchoring my image in those in those spaces. And if I click it again and maneuver it, I can create something that looks like, it's coming out of the frame or something. But this technique is going to be helpful for you if you are trying to create mock-ups for like soda cans or for t-shirts or something. So I think this concludes my tutorial. Please let me know if you have any questions.